Aloha and welcome to the Path to Redemption, the Warhammer 40,000 Dark Angels podcast. Our aim is to provide Dark Angels players with the tactical and hobby skills they need to compete and enjoy in this wonderful hobby of ours. My name is Heath. I'm with Team Tablewar Hawaii, and today I've got you a short, intermittent, off-schedule special episode featuring Robert Moreau, who's one of my fellow teammates on Tablewar Hawaii. He's one of our team captains, and he has been running a very unique Librarius Conclave list that we mentioned a few times back on War on the Shore. He came in, he was on top table at War on the Shore, got bumped down by his loss to Orcs. He scored Best Dark Angels at LVO in January, and been trying to get him on the show for a minute. Schedules never lined up. However, last night we were having a team chat, and him and I broke off late at night. We were discussing the Librarius Conclave, and I decided, hey, let's just sit down and record this. And so we had a nice long talk about deep into the tactics, how it's played, the strategy, the thoughts, and I'm just going to splice it in here after this, get you guys some content. So Bailey and I are going to be at Adepticon next weekend. Probably will not be able to record there. So hopefully this will be something no one else has been able to see. This is a deep dive into how the Librarius Conclave works. I started recording that conversation a few minutes in, so we had gone over a couple things before that. I'm going to just try and summarize that right here. So just to go over his list, it's a 2,000 point, as I said, Librarius Conclave list. It goes as follows. He has Azrael, Ezekiel, and then 3 foot librarians, one of which has Fusillade, and one of which has the enhancement Prescience. Then he has a Terminator librarian with the enhancement Celerity. We'll talk more about what those do in the interview. Then he has an Intercessor squad as battle line, an Impulsor with a shield dome, and then where the meat of all this is 3 wound, toughness 4 bodies with 4 up invulnerable saves. So he's got a big squad of Blade Guard veterans at 160 points, 1 unit of Deathwing Knights with Maces of Absolution, and then 3 units of Inner Circle Companions, 2 Scout squads, and then a big Stern Guard veteran squad at 200 points. That is the list. Anyway, enjoy, and this answered a lot of my questions. Hopefully it answers some of yours. All right, we started talking about this, and you were saying really smart, and I couldn't take notes fast enough. So I just said I'm going to jump over to my my podcast platform and record this and have it transcribe it. So, okay, so we're talking about, again,
psychic disciplines that you get to pick at the start of every battle round.
Yeah. So you're telling me that you're starting with Biomancy, which is the +2 to move, and that's where you basically sit the whole game?
Yes. So unless you're given the opportunity to lock up your opponent with 2+ units of ICC in close combat, and still have targets for your Stern Guard to jump to during your turn, assuming you're going second, so you're at the disadvantage, then you will remain in Biomancy. The only times I go in Pyromancy is if I meet those conditions. I'm locked in 2 or more combats, and the Stern Guard are able to walk or advance because, aside from the 2 heavy bolters in the unit, the whole unit has assault. Yep. Can advance into a position and just delete another unit straight off the table and earn back more of their points.
Okay, so when you say you used a term there, you said, I think, jump into or charges your
so like GW building formats, half the time you're playing a melee focused army, unless they have a range of movement between 10 to 14 inches. Large units normally get stuck out, and they give up half an inch or at least like 2 millimeters of a base to risk getting shot at, which you don't want. Staying in Biomancy gives you that +2. So with your advance, you want to be pre-measuring this after you move the unit, before your opponent goes, just during your turn, to make sure that, like, hey, I'm going to get this next jump, and I'm going to jump to here, I'm going to jump to there, until you're fully ready to come out and commit into melee.
Okay. So this list that you sent me, basically the only shooting is the 1 big Stern Guard brick, and then Azrael with 5 intercessors. There's no other guns, really.
How I ran this list during War on the Shore and LVO is I kept Azrael with ICCs the entire time.
Okay. All right.
It is just the Stern Guard brick. So what you're taking advantage of for your shooting.
No, I'm figuring that you don't put Azzies with the Stern Guard. You put the Stern Guard in the library. Okay, no, that's what you're saying.
Yep.
So it's just Stern Guard is the only shooting.
Yes. And then what helps
Wow.
you edge out the fact that all you have is Stern Guard is as long as you keep Azrael alive, you have 2 CP you can burn a turn to do the grenade strat, and then let me pull it up real quick.
Okay, yes, you got 3 librarians,
Mm-hmm.
and you got 3
4.
ICCs. Well, yeah, one. So 3 just baseline librarians,
Mm-hmm.
and Zeke and the Terminator librarian.
Yeah, so 5 in total.
Yeah, so you got the 3 ICC units, 3 Inner Circle Companions. Az goes with 1, Libby's with 2 of the other ones, and then the third Libby with Fusillade goes with the Stern Guard.
Yes.
Okay.
It's pretty much so the intercessor unit seems like it could be better as Reavers or maybe like a 3rd scout squad until you remember that the ritual exists in the game. And that's a unit that can just run out of your spawn after sticking it, even though it doesn't count if you hold it or not, except for secondaries. And they can go around planting new objectives and making them sticky.
Yeah.
And you almost auto win that. Because they cannot get through that wall of bodies.
Okay, I like this. So this is 6x3, and then the Blade Guard, so that's 24 power armored, 4 up invul save, 3 wound bodies.
Yes, it's a ridiculous amount. 29
most of them have
if you include the Terminators. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the 5 Deathwing Knights with their own librarian who gives them sustained hits. You go maces or swords on those?
I believe currently I have them set to maces.
Okay. Is that a model limitation thing, or?
I like maces because outside of you spamming grenades, assail, and the Stern Guard, you don't have any form of anti-vehicle or anti-monster. So even though this is a unit that has like a 27-inch threat range, 25-inch threat range, because the Libby gives them sustain 1, it's actually your back pocket anti-vehicle, anti-monster that just scares your opponent into submission as you repeat how big their threat charge range is. Because nobody wants to get locked up with them.
So, okay, so the prescient precision only works in shooting for the lethal hits. It doesn't work in melee.
Yeah. Oh, no, it for the librarian?
Yeah.
In Terminator armor? It only works...
The Libby Conclave strategic ploy, prescient precision, says in your shooting phase...
Oh, the stratagem, yes.
Yeah, the stratagem. Yes. That gives you lethal. Because I think mathematically, if you can get lethal hits, then the swords beat the maces.
Yes, they would. But since that one's only in shooting, it's why I bypass it.
There's a lot of shooting phase stuff here.
There is, but you won't end up using most of it outside of grenades.
And here's the one that lets you add... So if you're in Biomancy, you got this Iron Arm stratagem. In an infantry unit within 18 inches of a Psyker, so you basically can get +2 to strength. Yeah. So now your companions are strength 8.
Yes, or you can make Blade Guard strength 7.
Which is an important breakpoint.
Mm-hmm. Especially since 9 out of 10 times you'll throw Ezekiel into that unit to give them the +1 attack as well. Yeah. And they actually start doing better than Blade Guard companions, Inner Circle companions for once.
Because they have the built-in rerolls to hit.
Yes.
So when I saw this the attachment the first time, I was initially drawn to the divination, the reroll ones to hit and wound. But now what you're telling me is that sounds like that's like your closer, like round 4. I don't need to move.
Oh yeah, if you're at the point where the Stern Guard don't need a bonus, because if you pop, what's that called? Let me get the discipline up. The Pyromancy discipline, it gives them...
Sorry, that's where we're at tonight.
Nice. I got Jim being outside. I'm making whiskey sours.
Classy.
Right? I'm out of egg whites, though, so we'll get a little getaway.
Oh, no, he says, so there's this distillery over in Kailua.
Yeah.
They have these glasses. The bottom of it is done. I want to pour this out with the mountains of each of the Hawaiian Islands. This was for Oahu. It's dope. It's really cool. Sorry. I
No,
figured you'd want to.
I want that.
I knew you demonstrated to me that you're a man of character, and so I needed to share that with you.
No. Which one is that one? The Ko'oloa?
This is cool, yeah.
Okay. They during the pandemic, they actually turned their stills into hand sanitizer
Yeah.
units. Yeah. Then they gave all the Safeway stores free bottles of their hand
Nice.
sanitizer. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've got two bottles of their Tradewind gin over here. One traditional, and I don't know if you've been there recently, but they have a barrel aged gin now.
Oh, I'm gonna have to sample that. Oh, that's a beautiful color too.
It is. It's so good. It's really good. It's one of the second best gin I've ever had. The only one that's better comes from a little distillery in Norfolk, Virginia called Deep Creek. But it's really anyway. Sorry, we're distracted. Okay.
No, I love gin. That's a perfect thing to distract me with.
Yeah.
But I do have everything set and ready. So putting them in the pyromancy gives you sustained hits 1 from the Fusillade relic as well.
Oh.
So that's why like I was mentioning earlier, if they don't have to advance more than like 2 on a bad roll to see a target with the whole unit, you just pop into pyromancy after that. Dropping 2 heavy bolters but giving the whole unit sustain 1 pops off. It's like having Azrael but he's not there. The librarian in the unit has been the actual clutch point of that.
Because his the smite has dev wounds in the focus and in Witchfire, and you can re-roll that full with the Sturgar. Oh,
yep, with anti-vehicle, anti-monster 5 up, with sustains. Yes.
Okay.
In a single game, I had him by himself do 14 mortal wounds to a Norn emissary before I rolled the rest of the unit. I was just like, I want to see how hard he pops off.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's like, oh,
great.
Cool. Everyone else's shots
crap.
is wasted, but that's fine.
Norn emissaries, man. God. I got whooped by one of those a couple weeks ago.
It was an opponent, too, that was like, let's talk out the game. And I was like, yeah, sure. We just need to see if this would happen, and that would be like 10 extra points. He's like, yeah, sure. But I don't think you'll kill him. I'm like, yeah, let me just roll for the unit, and then we can call it. He's like, sure. Boom, 14 with just that before the unit. He's like, all right, yeah, no, that's probably yours.
We're done here.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay. So you've got an impulsor in here, and you said that is to horse up one of your sword and board squads.
Yep.
Right?
So you want to start the game probably Ezekiel's unit in there.
So the Blade Guard, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just because Ezekiel doesn't have anything cool except you know the close combat buffs for his squad. They already have a 4-up emblem, but they don't have that -1. And most opponents, when they see a transport, when they have these smart arms fire, whether they're strength 6, 5, or 4, if they're not higher than AP1, it's gonna go in an inner circle unit instead of the transport 9 times out of 10 because they think they can wound it easier. And that's the ploy. You use the impulsor to just pretty much set up a flank where you throw out Ezekiel's squad, you board up an ICC squad, you do it again.
So you're saying so you don't even move the transport. You're just using basically the 3-inch disembark to basically give them a springboard.
You can, but you can also have the transport be there. The first unit disembark, move,
and the second one gets in,
and then the transport moves.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then people go,
gotcha.
All right, I shoot the transport. I have to deal with 2 units that he could heroic intervene with, or I try to delete the unit, and that thing can probably move past my squad into my deployment in my turn.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you said you dropped the second unit of Deathwing Knights.
Yes.
Because the price of Fusillade went up, and that was the thing you were willing to sacrifice. What did you do with the other 230 points?
Well, so what I dropped was the Librarian and Terminator armor, because I had one of those. I dropped the 5-man, because I didn't have any relics on that Terminator, and for that I added the Blade Guard, added Ezekiel, and an Impulsor. I added that key unit that can help launch units, and then I swapped in another squad that still has a 4-up invuln, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so and because librarians have just the 4-up feel no pain against psychic,
Yep. So you're always
right?
going to put your weapon in hazardous because you get feel no pain rules against
Well, it's
your
not
hazardous.
no, because hazardous aren't psychic. Hazardous aren't psychic. They're just mortal wounds.
Nope. In the rule book, if it's a psychic weapon that causes hazardous, it counts as a psychic attack on you.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, they're psychic mortal
Okay.
wounds, so you're gonna
So
feel no
you
pain
can
against
all-
them.
So you all right? So
That's what
you're
makes you auto counter Thousand Suns.
your psychic. Now I know you remember saying that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
your psychic hood is going to give you a lot of protection against them.
Yep.
But I didn't realize it would work against you overcharging your own witchfire attack.
Yep, because it's a psychic attack, so your psychic hood protects you. It's fire.
All right, interesting. Man, okay. All right. So, is there any need or desire to bring the lion in this list? I know he doesn't benefit from most of the stratagems, or really the detachment rule.
Mhm.
But the fights first, the move through walls, the
The-
aura of feel no pain. For
That's where the
immortals.
redundancy is because all of your units are going to be led with a librarian.
Well, they don't give you, once again, they give you the feel no pain against psychics, but not against dev wounds.
But so, how many weapons in the game have dev wounds outside of grenades that you have to actively worry about out of the 30 armies in the game?
Well,
Outside of 2, right? There's like heavy bolters and then some dark Eldar weapons.
Nids,
Yeah.
like the gargoyles with the things. I don't know. There's a few.
The gargoyles
you-
can.
Yeah.
No, the gargoyles fly. They move, shoot, move.
There's one of them, or maybe it's the Termagants,
Mm-hmm.
with they have a weapon that like a flesh bore or something that does mortals.
Because I played
Um,
against 2 Tyranid players at LVO, and they both got countered by me because most of their shooting is from zone throws, which have the psychic keyword.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
And it just ruins their day when you're rolling 4 up feel no pains and 4 up invulns.
I got surprised by that the custode bike fly over mortal wound grenade that does 2 mortal wounds to every model in the unit on a 2-up. So hate my life for that. Okay, so you think no need for a lion.
So, like, the Custodes bike unit, in that particular matchup, if you were to play him ever again, your last unit drop would be... Well, you're waiting for him to drop his bikes, and then you just put Azrael in front of whatever flank those bikes go into.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, I
he'll
see
be
that.
like, oh, cool, you don't have a librarian, whatever, I'm just going to do it to that squad, and then you pop the once per game for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if he doesn't go for Azrael's squad, then he's got to move out of his way towards his closest threat unit, which lets Azrael live longer, which gives you more CP to throw out mortal wounds with everything else in your army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Inner Circle Companions, they do have the grenade keyword, right?
So this is where it gets
I
super
don't-
funky. You are spending 2 CP a turn to throw grenades with just the librarian.
The librarian does.
Yes, the Inner Circle Companions do not have the grenade keyword, but the librarian does. So when you
that
deploy
means
the unit,
The
you need to make
Libby
sure...
has to be the closest thing because that model has to get within 6 inches.
8 inches, I believe, for the
8?
grenade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was a data slate thing a couple months ago where now it's not the unit with grenades, it's the model with grenades has to be within the eligible range of the strategy.
Yeah, which kind of made it so it was fair when it came out. But aside from Dark Angel players, I don't think many other factions felt that. I think it's still super weird that Inner Circle and Companions don't have grenades when they have 30 pouches around their belt model. I don't know what's in them. Maybe it's the fairy dust they sprinkle for the -1 to being hit.
Yeah,
They gotta
you
reload
don't
their
need to ask that
incense.
question. They're not, they're totally not fallen Space Marines.
Mhm.
They're totally not Chaos Marines.
Don't even know what that word means.
Mm-mm. So, okay. I think I'm getting... Okay, so what are the stratagems you use every turn are obviously grenades. You've said that a lot.
Mhm.
And what else? Iron Arm, we've talked about that because you're going to live in Biomancy in combat.
Well,
you're going to get benefit
It
out of that,
depends. So your first turn, you're normally giving up close combat turn one.
Okay.
Unless your opponent is super aggressive and gives you free charges, you don't want to have to spend CP to pop off Iron Arm or anything else that improves your close combat effectiveness.
So you're basically just bank the CP.
Mm-hmm. You want to bank as much as you can, because the moment you start sitting with a bank of 3 a turn, your opponent can't do anything to you. It's over. I mean, it's still a dice game, so they can find opportunities. But when you have 2 CP and then 1 hanging off at the extra at the end of your turn before it goes into his, it's rough for them.
So what's the mechanic there, or what's the play?
I just like having it because once you have the 2 grenades going off any turn, that's 2d6 mortal wounds that you're putting on a single unit.
How are you doing 2 grenades a turn?
If you're not in close combat, it's grenades and then a sail, which is the exact same wording.
Okay.
Yeah, but a sail lets you do it in close combat as long as the unit is eligible to shoot.
Neat.
And librarians have bolt pistols.
As do the companions and the blade guard.
Yeah, so you get this cool ability where, oh no, I'm stuck in combat with a dude with 3 wounds, and there's a unit that I could charge 7 inches away. Yeah, a sail, gone.
There you go.
And then that doesn't work? Well, half my army was in close combat anyway, so I'm in pyromancy. All of my Inner Circle's pistols are AP2. So I should at least be able to chip that 1 wound after the grenade after.
Okay. All right, so talk to me about this sensory assault stratagem. That's you can basically not your command phase, a command phase. It just says the command phase.
So I actually used this at War of the Shore against the Orc player. And I did that. Doug? Yep. To slow down 2 units a turn.
Okay.
Which meant I was sacrificing my melee output, which I do regret. I feel like that cost me the game. Was slowing down his charges instead of making it so I could insta-kill his units with Iron Arm.
Okay, so when you pin them, you basically they don't get to interact with this. You just say you are -2 to move and -2 to charge.
Yes,
I really like that. In addition, if telepathy is active, you get a battle shock at they take a battle shock at -1.
You'll never have that discipline active.
Yeah.
But they will feel that -2 every time you do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, armor step, we know that. Fiery shield.
So you remember how I said if you get 3 out of these things, yes, go for pyromancy, and this is exactly why.
Okay, go on.
So you get this sweet ability while pyromancy's up, where they get hazardous on all their melee attacks afterwards.
So in the fight phase, just after an enemy unit selects its targets, 1 infantry or mounted unit in your army within 18 inches that was selected as a target for attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, they are -1 to hit, and if pyromancy is active, all their weapons have hazardous.
Yes, so it's super solid.
Yuck.
Again, especially like the Lions of the Emperor detachment, they'd be like, haha, in a circle, I still get a +1, I'm hitting you on 2 still. And you go, no, 1 CP, you're hitting me on 3s. By the way, your blades and your Misericordia, which has extra attacks you have to roll for, both have hazardous. So that's 2 hazardous checks per model, please.
Is that how hazardous is worded?
I'd have to
by
double
the weapon, check, or is it by the model?
It used to be by the weapon. I know they had this new data slate come out, but it was for each hazardous weapon you used, you rolled a hazardous check. Most people only have 1.
I can see that. That doesn't... Yep. Okay, so I'm going to take a note of that. I'm going to go look into that.
Yes. No, it's honestly massive.
To make...
if you double check it and they've changed it, then it won't be as massive, but still doing 3 mortal wounds to a single custode running in the Lion Emperor, detachment, he's going to be taking a solid 3 mortal wounds, which is, again, it's going to help your army that isn't as good against custodes push through them if he's killing himself.
I don't know. I think so strength 6 is like the perfect into custodes. Yeah. Because you're hitting them on 4s and you're not triggering the warden's -1 to wound. And you've got a a crazy melee output. At -2, you're putting them on their invul save. You got multi-damage everywhere. It feels right.
Yes.
But again, they have such crazy melee output. If they activate first, they're going to wipe your unit.
Yes. So most times you want to lead the charge. You want to be the one who activates first. Pop that, and then that unit is practically deleted by a unit that costs like 150 to 100 points less, and you've got the big eating grin after. Like, you really thought though. Like, sure, you lose half the squad, but you delete the rest of them through hazardous checks, and you just yes.
Also, Stern Guard are really good into Custodes.
Oh, insanely, especially that Dread detachment. I got to play against it once for practice, and the Stern Guard, they made back their points by turn 2.
Yeah, you just 5 up, 6 up, boom, 5, 6 up, boom. Yeah.
I did this thing where I just advanced them through a wall and I put them in the open. I shot one, killed it, and then I put myself in Pyromancy because I figured I was going to wait for another Dread to just move through a wall to have the opportunity to get in front of them, and boom, second Dread. And that's already like almost 400, 500 points back.
So there's a lot of things that have like, the claw attack, then the tail attack, and they're all different line items on the data sheet. So the hazards thing really could come up there. You could make a guy take like, if that's the way that the hazards works, you could make him take like, well, they're rolling 1 die for each weapon that attacks on each die roll.
So that'd be 2 dice per guy. It adds up.
That adds up. That adds up a lot.
So in my game against Doug, the reason why I was like, man, that dice game really got me is I was doing it to Squig Hogs, which have an attack and an extra attack. And he was just passing all 3 of his Feel No Pains, or 2 out of the 3, and I was like, I can't.
So I just want you to know, that's what it's like. That's what it feels like to play against someone who doesn't roll anything but 4-ups. Rob,
I know. I had a lot of people tell me that after, like, this is what it feels like, Rob.
That you are known for, you specifically. So I don't want to hear nothing out of you.
That's why afterwards I was like, I can't complain. At the end of the game, it's a dice game. But, oh man, do I know how you guys feel right now?
Salty because he's like, well, your boy makes 17 out of 24 4-up invul saves. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. It's just a dice game. I guess sometimes that happens. Yeah. So okay.
To be fair, against Aaron, we have great games.
Okay. So all right. So we kind of talked through the stratagems, the enhancements, and the 2 that you're using, which I think I agree with, are the two big ones. Celerity, which lets you advance and charge, and if Biomancy is active, you can fall back and charge.
Yes.
And so Deathwing Knights that are just going to be like, bing, bing, hey, what's up? That's great. It's 30 points, and it's definitely going to go on your Terminator Librarian.
Yes, it's definitely very costly now. I think that got a minor...
It's 30 points per the app.
I feel like it was 25 before. That one also got a little bit of a knockoff.
Worth.
Every time, especially because the Librarian gives them sustain 1, you just go, cool. It's definitely Knights at the end of the day.
Yeah, no. So they don't. Well, they have sustained 1 because of the Librarian.
Yeah.
Fusillade is the one. It's 35 points now. I think it went up 10 or 15, or it went up a lot of points.
It went ridiculous. It was 20, I believe.
Yeah. Once again, look, this is clearly intended for Stern Guard.
Yeah, so but you know what? I like that they lift it up in a way that only affects like the units you can put it in. It was dirty to begin with, just to give a unit anti-vehicle, anti-monster 5 up. We all knew it was going to go in Stern Guard. Even if you put this on a Librarian and put it in Hellblasters would still overperform.
Already wounding on 5s. Yeah, they don't need it.
Yeah,
they don't need it. Yeah,
but just to get the sustained with it, without Azrael. Right, you're like, I'd play 30 points. That's about 1 CP. 1 CP I could see as a 30-point differential, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm down for that. So yeah, getting sustained hits 1 if you're in Pyromancy, which is kind of late game.
Yes.
And then the anti-vehicle, anti-monster to trigger the dev wounds on your Stern Guard, which all have So that's spicy. And don't sleep on the on the heavy bolters with that, because heavy bolters are 2 damage,
Yes.
and the Stern Guard heavy bolters have dev wounds.
Yes.
And that's a lot of mortal. Okay.
Yep. So you don't want to have to be in pyromancy, even when your whole army is locked up in late game, if you need to use the heavy bolters. But if in your head you can math out that with sustained 1, rerolling everything, they will delete the unit, then yeah, let's go pyromancy. I can give my Deathwing Knights another turn of extra survival. They don't have -1 built in. -1 damage, -1 to hit, and hazardous on their enemy is going to f their enemy's day 9 out of 10 times the week.
So where does the -1 to hit come from?
That's when you put up the fiery
Knights?
shield.
That's what the fiery shield stratagem is for.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can use it on Inner Circle companions to like mess with custodes.
Oh yeah, because
anyone
it's
else.
the -1 to hit. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
but it's gonna, now that in my new list it's just 1 unit. Whenever you pop yourself into pyromancy, is to make sure you have more Deathwing units the next turn. That's it.
Okay, never mind. I was thinking, is there worth a captain to be able to use a stratagem? But no, they don't. They can't copy stratagems anymore. They just
If there was a psychic captain,
disregard.
maybe.
disregard.
Yeah.
If there's a Grey Knight captain, yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was about to say.
So what don't you like about obfuscation impressions? Obfuscation says you cannot. You basically can't be shot Overwatch at, and you cannot be targeted unless you're within 18 inches if telepathy is active. So it's a no touchy.
Are those the 2 different enhancements?
Yeah.
It just doesn't come enough unless you build toward it.
Yeah.
And there's so many tools in the Space Marine Codex that overlap. That yes, you could build for it and you could throw it in, but then that's having a Phobos Libby and an Infiltrator squad or a Reaver squad.
Yeah.
And they get that for free. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And prescience. I thought this one would be more okay, but you can't put it on Terminators. Once per turn, when you basically you get a reactive move.
Yes. So I have that on one of my librarians, and what I like to do is when I start the game, I put that squad in front of the Stern Guard squad.
Okay.
And then I move them at the same rate with them in front of the Stern Guard squad. And then when a unit comes towards my Stern Guard squad, I will retreat the ICC unit back, because I'll normally have that +1 CP. Remember when I told you having 3 at the start of your turn is at fire? That means you have 2 at the start of your opponent's, if you're doing the 2 grenades every round. And then you get that free move back. You have 1 to heroically intervene. Stern Guard are 4 attacks base. And that unit that comes to attack you so happens to be your oath that you didn't finish off, or because you're going second, whatever
and you're
it may
rerolling
be.
everything into them, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
Stern
then they
Guard
have to absorb both.
feisty in close combat, yeah.
And Stern Guard are also rocking that 4-up invuln, just like the Inner Circle are.
Yeah.
And yeah, can benefit from the fiery shield. If you have pyromancy up, it's one of those bait and switches. You make it look like it's such an easy, juicy target, where sometimes when the ICC go behind the Stern Guard, that just barely puts them out of charge range too, depending on how your opponent tries to line it up. Because sometimes they'll move forward, but they don't want to get overwatched by Stern Guard, so they'll keep the unit behind a building, but within charge range of them.
Okay.
Yeah, you're pretty much creating a flank that is going to move up, but it's going to do shenanigans to make sure that the opposite side does everything it can do. And that opposite side will normally have Azrael, it'll have the Deathwing Knight squad. Now it'll have an Impulsor as well, and Ezekiel coming out of it with Blade Guard.
So if you're saying you're basically interleaving your Stern Guard and the Blade Guard, well, not the Blade Guard, one of the ICCs.
Yeah.
The ICCs with the reactive move. So say when someone moves close to them, you are going to move backwards through the Stern Guard to put the Stern Guard in front, because you would rather them charge the Stern Guard than the ICCs?
Yeah, because most of the time, if you put the bases like as tightly as you can together, I think you can be almost 2 inches away and still move the whole unit behind the Stern Guard.
Okay.
Adding an extra 2 inches to the charge of your opponent, or at least a 1.5 inch.
So they move with the intent of setting up the charge.
Harder on the Stern Guard.
You're just going to back up. Or so why not move laterally so that they...
There's no penalty through moving through.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, because it's a D6 move unless you're in divination, so it's random, and I don't like that.
It is, but at the same time, at least from how I've played it, like depending on how it goes, I've also done a thing where if I roll very low, I move to the far left. And then it makes it so it's this weird charge where it's like, yeah, it could be a 7-inch charge to my ICC and a 9-inch to my stern guard, and then try to multi-charge. You just want to like overwhelm your opponent with targets and information.
Just make force decisions and hopefully an error.
Yeah, and then if they go, yeah, you know what, it's worth it because I can tag 2 units, even though in your head you're like, cool, my stern guard will live, I'll still delete things off the table with even 7 models. I've deleted Wave Serpents off the board with 3 models just because of Librarian getting that crit 5 up to wound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
Damn.
You don't mind losing half a stern guard unit, but you want to pretend like you don't want to use a single one. That way your opponent goes, you know what, I need to delete this unit right now.
Interesting. All right. I'm getting a better feel for the mechanics.
Yeah.
I think what I'm still probably having a hard time with it visualizing is deployment and kind of the movement stuff. You said some good stuff about that. I just need to probably try and build this and practice it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I'll see what I can
played
come up with.
At LVO. I got very lucky. I got WTC tables, which is, oh my god, was that disgusting. And I got regular Games Workshop, but with FLG terrain tables, the new end ones. So it's still very dense. I got to avoid the Games Workshop tables, which were made with Games Workshop terrain, and like they were very sparse.
Okay.
And it set up insane kill zones. I was able to create a conga line of Stern Guard that were hopping left, right, left. Big Nid monster, big Nid monster, big Nid monster. ICC holding middle and flanks, and just nothing outside of big monsters could get through them because of how many attacks they had. And
what is your secondary plan usually?
Always tactical.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you got
especially
the 2 scout
now,
squads. You got the 2 scout squads to uppy downy, and you can probably, so you're super good at area denial. You've got a decent number of units with which to do, like, how are you with like action economy?
I've never had a moment where I wasn't in the point of the game where if they did kill all my scouts and my intercessors, where I couldn't, like, okay, sure, I'm going to use ICC. I'm winning this game already. It takes so much to chew through that 3 wound, 3 up, 4 up unit.
Okay. You said if you wanted to go, so in one of these messages you sent me, you said that you would swap maybe the Impulsor for Reavers just for the OC debuff.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's about a point for point swap, because a unit of Reavers is like 85, I think.
Yeah.
Well, 80,
is it 85?
It might be 80. I'm just speaking off the top of my head.
Okay,
and this is 2000, 80. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's 80-80. So and you would do that just to have an OC debuff unit or a
no.
Or a scout unit.
That would, yes. I would keep that,
scouts.
and that'd be the unit I'd throw out, and the scouts I'd keep back. In my games, people will try to target the scouts if you don't get first turn, and you don't properly hide them. Of course, you're going to properly hide them, because you know it's all you got. But I do sometimes get ballsy with them. But Reavers are so nice to just throw out there and be like, cool, they're going to get on the objective. If they can't charge my Reavers, but I can keep them behind this piece of terrain, give them -1 OC, and then Blade Guard, not Blade Guard, but Intercessor Companions, which are OC2, get to hold it, it's over. I'm holding that for the entire game. Yeah. I just like that the Impulsor gives you a 10-inch move.
Yeah, it gives you a little jump, right?
And that's not even for the jump. I would use that for objective scoring.
Yeah, no, like late game, it just starts to run around, and then they're surprisingly effective at tank shocking.
Yes, and your opponent's just
third source of mortal wounds.
There's too much 4-up bodies. I could shoot at this tank, but the tank is what, stubbers. I'm about to get cut to bits by ICC. Target the ICC again.
So do you put? You don't have any weapons selected on the holster, so you don't.
Oh, let me. I
Yeah, what
normally
do you
go
like?
for
The
the
shield dome for the
shield.
invul? Shield dome
I
for
was
the
gonna shoot the
invul?
shield dome, yeah,
Okay.
because I never use any strats on it.
No, it would be the missile launcher. Would be the one I would pick otherwise.
Oh, okay. The missile launcher is nice, but in a list like this, where
Yeah.
like you want to set it up so your opponent is drawn to like this weird firing lane that your stern guard dominate, or they have to go into a flank where they fight either two ICC squads or an ICC squad in Deathwing Knights, and like neither of those sound awesome.
Okay, let me. I've been kicking around this idea about with the advent of Guard and Eldari, and
That's why I
their
went with
ability
the
to like
Impulsor.
do this stuff.
Mhm.
Librarians can lead Desolators and some spicy indirect fire.
If
What
you
do you?
weren't Dark Angels, I would go for it.
Yeah, but you're just saying the opportunity cost of the Inner Circle Companions is too high
No, we don't have Gilliman. If we had a Gilliman, I'd say go for broke.
to flip the
Yep.
oath. Okay.
Yeah, and you could do double Desolators and then whatever you wanted, and it would still be great. You'd have double Desolators, a Stern Guard squad, and then probably Marnius and a big brick, and another brick that's being teleported by the character that gives teleport. That's just the Ultramarine build. That's all it is.
Yeah, I was thinking that like the
They're super cool. Desolators are great, but just for Ultramarines. It belongs to them right now, unless they get like a 25 point drop because they're overcosted. I mean,
oh yeah,
they're
no, I
still
completely
great.
agree. They're overpriced. like they paid they were paying the price for
Yeah.
Their
The
data sheet rule is invalidated by base rules now, right? And they never got a point. They never got points dropped to account for that.
Don't get me wrong. I ran 10 Desolators with
I know
the dude and everything in the back. Yeah,
I know you did.
I was there, and I was winning games.
You're being demure, saying you ran 10. Boy, you ran 30. So, all right. Okay. All right. This is good. I think I have a lot to work with.